The Dreamtime is the platform for learning, expansion, travel, communication, healing, and creativity. We speak to you at this time regarding travel and communication within Dreamtime. Whilst there are many of you at the stage within your spiritual journey where you are able to move into conscious and focused astral projection and out-of-body travel, moving into communication with many different consciousness structures, beings, places, and entities, we speak to you now specifically regarding travel into fourth dimensional fields and communication with the beings that reside there, known to you as the spirit realms or astral planes. There are those of you who, through Dreamtime, are able to travel into these fourth dimensional templates and connect with individuals you once knew in physical form in your physical life. In order for such a meeting, permissions must be given on both sides. Both individuals will hold a meaningful desire for connection at a specific point in time. Permissions are granted when either or both knowledge expansion and service are in place. The fourth dimensional realms are perceived by you in physicality within a vertical geometric field, the third dimension being below the fourth, and so on. The individuals who reside within the fourth dimension perceive the realities as being within a horizontal geometric field, that the worlds are next to each other rather than above below. The different perceptions make up the sacred cross, leading into the diagonal perceptions into the flower of life geometry. All models of perception are correct. Both vertical and horizontal geometric fields are correct perceptions depending on your vantage point. However, the most aligned perception would be that of concentric circles moving outwards rather than the vertical or horizontal. This would in actuality be a presentation of the spiral geometric field. Looking at the concentric circles, the third dimension, your physical reality, would be within the larger circle, with the fourth dimension, the spirit realm, the next circle in. The fourth dimensional field would therefore appear to be within a smaller circle than the physical dimension, with the source point, or God aspect, if you will, being in the absolute centre. In actuality, the concentric circle presentation is a spiral, with each source point at the centre being a fractal, leading into yet another spiral. This mirrors not only your antimatter universe, the world of spirit, but also your physical universe, the world of matter. Therefore, we could say that the physical perception is a vertical one, the fourth dimensional spirit perception is a horizontal one, and the source higher light perception is that of being at the central point within several spirals radiating outwards from oneself. All perceptions being correct perceptions of reality and thus consciousness itself. When an individual moves into a path of enlightenment and ascension, then the expansion created within that conscious path allows for the understanding of, and indeed the experience of, these different perceptions. Whenever you move into a 0-point field within your meditation, or during an altered state moment of bliss, joy, and unity, you experience the source point, God-realized perception of being at the very center of the concentric circle spiral presentation. We draw your attention now to the perspective of the individual within the fourth dimensional spirit realm existence. Just like you in physical form, each one of you holds different perspectives and perceptions and different belief systems and paradigms. The same is indeed the case for those who reside within the fourth dimension. The heaven-hell realities experienced by those who reside there are vast. Yet in each case, Each individualized spirit complex, the being themselves, will be aware that they are supported, loved, guided, and assisted continuously. When a spirit first passes over into the denser fourth dimensional fields, they may be very emotionally charged and confused. In the case of a violent passing, the emotional fragmentation and the confusion is amplified. Yet, to match this, so is the level of support. In rare cases, there are individuals who have lived a life where their emotional broadcast, their belief systems, behaviors, and polarizations are a match to the denser fourth dimensional fields. Yet, their intelligence level and third eye chakra activation is a match to the much lighter fourth dimensional fields. In these cases, these individuals may be placed in positions where they are able to become an ambassador, if you will, for that particular dimensional field. The third eye development will allow for clarity and rapid learning. Huge progression and expansion takes place within these individuals, and they stand as mentors, guides, and support workers for newly transitioned souls who stand within emotional fragmentation and confusion. These individuals may rapidly transmute their emotional states and will align energetically with other dimensions, yet remain as an ambassador within the dimension where their specific expertise and training is needed. This is in accordance with their own permissions, boundaries, and free will. These spirit beings, whilst not fully ascended realized light beings, hold much information most useful for the travelers and seekers still in physicality who wish to move into a spiritual journey of expansion, enlightenment, and ascension. If permissions are granted with these individuals, then productive meetings can take place within crossover points within the third and fourth dimensional fields. As one is entering a denser fourth dimensional field, then this visualized template is likely to appear as being within a building, courtyard, a hall, a walled garden, or other template presentation with boundaries. Most common is the sitting across a table made of wood or other natural structure. Or you may find these meetings take place within tree houses or rooms made entirely of wood, presented within the log cabin template. Most templates are constructed of natural organic material such as wood, stone, and similar. The higher dimensional structures are often made of crystal, plasma, or of pure rainbow light. The discussion will be indeed that, a discussion. For this is a two-way knowledge expansion and service meeting. This is not the scenario where the higher ascended guide answers the questions to he or she in physicality. This is an equal discussion with both parties bringing information and energy to the table. An equal energy exchange. It is most helpful to those upon a spiritual journey, especially those who, in turn, teach these teachings of reality to others, to understand the perspective of the fourth dimensional spirit being. There are cases whereby the fourth dimensional individual becomes a guide and a regular mentor for the physical incarnate individual. This also can be a helpful and workable relationship when the physical individual stands themselves as a channel for spirit and a fourth dimensional communicator. Yet it is most helpful to be aware of all the perspectives, that of the higher light ascended master source perspective as well as the fourth dimensional spirit perspective. You may be connected to someone who holds this advanced third eye expansion, who resides within the fourth dimensional landscape that matches the denser emotional scale within that individual. If this is the case, then you have but to request a meeting and wait for permissions to be granted. It may be that you simply find yourself in the presence of one of these spirit people, to discover that your permissions have been freely given without your conscious awareness of such. This is often the case with fully polarized service to others individuals within the physical reality. The fourth dimensional ambassadors of which we speak will have some access to and some knowledge of the higher, or from their perception, lighter realities and beings. The fourth dimensional ambassadors see their reality through the horizontal stream. Therefore, higher than or lower than is not an appropriate metaphor for them. They would see things in terms of density, such as heavier than or lighter than, or more usually in terms of light density, such as darker than or lighter, brighter than. The horizontal sliding scale of light is a most appropriate metaphor for them. One metaphor used by such an ambassador to our conduit was that of a brightness adapter upon your mobile cell phone device. Each colour presented by the screen you see as useful as the other, depending upon the light within your environment. We find this metaphor given most in alignment with the fourth dimensional perspective. The heaven-hell realities perceived by many within the physical dimension are perceived most differently and more accurately by the fourth dimensional ambassadors. Within the physical realm, heaven is perceived as good and pure, and hell as dark and evil. Yet this is not the perception within the highly intelligent fourth dimensional ambassadors in the spirit realms. Using the metaphor of the brightness adapter on your mobile cell phone device, the heaven reality is at the brighter end of the scale, and the hell reality at the darker end of the scale. The most appropriate shade or light level given to the overall environmental frequency of the individualized consciousness structure within the fourth dimension. This perception is far more accurate and much closer to the source perspective than the perception held within many physical incarnate beings within the third dimension. Therefore, from this most accurate perspective, heaven and hell as you know it within your physical dimension do not exist. The original explanations of these realities, first given upon your planet, were most accurate. Yet the understanding and processing of these concepts have been distorted across linear time on your planet. When an individual takes a conscious path of enlightenment and ascension, they will naturally become aware of these concepts. Therefore, visiting hell realities, if you will, is as useful as visiting heaven realities. Just as you would adapt the brightness level upon your mobile cell phone device in accordance with the daylight, sunlight, nighttime, or artificial light of your environment. All are as useful and as necessary as the other. If one perceives the colour black, the colour white, and all the shades of grey in between as being part of a visual monochrome artwork presentation, one will embrace and indeed love every shade presented. This is the case with reality across the dimensions. Fourth dimensional individuals who exist within the denser realities speak about being banished. However, this again does not have the same interpretation as those within the third dimension would see the word banished. It simply means that at the point in their soul's growth and expansion, they are unable to access lighter and brighter fourth dimensional realities. This occurs for the highest good for that soul, for support structures in the form of teams of light are available continuously within denser realities. Individuals within these realities interpret their form of travel as walking. Although the ambassadors are able to answer an emotional call, so can teleport, if you will, depending on their own thought structure and permissions available. Individuals within the lighter, brighter fourth dimensional realities spend much more time alone, experiencing unity as a belonging within rather than a team of support, guidance and help around them and outside of them. Their predominant form of travel is instantaneous teleportation, and this is often perceived as flying. Permissions are much broader and wider within these realities, and many souls here create their own permissions. The ambassadors and those within lighter, brighter realities are able to feel the emotions of their loved ones who exist within the physical dimension, especially that of their soulmate, twin flame partner, and their children, grandchildren, and other descendants. If the individual within the fourth dimension is a child, then they will usually be telepathically linked in a very strong way to their mother, and in some cases to their father, if the parents are within the physical dimension. Even though the ambassadors may be elsewhere, if you will, and busy working, if an emotional signal becomes quite strong and permissions are given, then that soul is able to bring their consciousness into the physical dimension and affect it. This can happen from a point of view of service, healing and love, yet can also occur if that soul themselves still holds strong emotional links to individuals, situations or places. These forms of influence within the physical dimension can be for both positive and negative reasons, but will still exist within the boundaries of etiquette and permissions. Fourth dimensional ambassadors learn about service to self and service to others, individuals. They perceive in similar terms to physically incarnated individuals, as the fourth dimension, especially the denser realities, are mirrors of the third dimension. Often the terms service to self and service to others will not be known within their knowledge base, but they will be taught of service itself and all the permeations within that. For service is the structure all dimensions are built upon. We repeat, service is the structure all dimensions are built upon. The perception of service and the implementation of service differs with each dimension. But within the denser realities of the fourth dimension, it is seen very much as work. However, the perception of work within these spirit realms is very different to that within the physical realm, certainly within Western society. Within spirit, one is always working, if you will. For everything one does is either for knowledge expansion or for service. However, unlike individuals who work many hours within a short space of time and find themselves in a state of stress due to this, no matter how long a fourth dimensional individual in spirit is in a working state for, there is no stress associated with this. Time operates very differently within the fourth dimension. It has a linear appearance, usually, but it is not at all linear. It is fluid, bendable, and curved. Energy operates very differently within the fourth dimension, as there is no third dimensional physical body to become tired or burnt out. Fourth dimensional individuals in spirit, especially those at ambassador level, see work itself as service. Work is in service to their own self, as in their own expansion as a soul, and simultaneously in service to others. This work is freely given. There is no absolute or must, yet there is duty. Yet, duty again is perceived most differently within the fourth dimension. Within the physical reality, duty can be most negative, having to engage or indulge in something against one's will, or in something that does not fit one's chosen schedule. Within the fourth dimension, duty is desirable, for it is freely given and brings expansion and growth to the soul. It is not a requirement, but an opportunity. Those at ambassador level will have some interaction with higher dimensional light beings, and indeed with some service to self structures. The light beings are often perceived as wearing bright white robes or other white clothing, sometimes suits. Yet the light beings can emanate such bright light that they cannot be looked upon or indeed thought of by the fourth dimensional ambassadors. The service to self individuals are often perceived as existing within shadow, or perhaps wearing black clothing, often black suits. Interaction with both light beings and service to self individuals will be commonplace. The ambassadors at this level are not fully aware of the role of neutral individuals. They often present wearing grey suits, or they may have grey tones to their perceived skin. These presentations and perceptions will depend on the advancement and expansion of the fourth dimensional ambassadors themselves, and those indeed of the physical conduit. Fourth dimensional individuals in spirit, once integrated into the consciousness structure in a state of balance, having been through the transitionary stage, are open to continual learning and indeed teaching. If you feel drawn to moving into this kind of communication, or if indeed this kind of communication has already occurred for you, then you will be assisting and teaching as much as you will be learning. For much knowledge is shared within these meetings between both participants. You may find, if a message is within divine timing and within permissions, seen as beneficial for one or many souls, then these dream meetings will come with one or several messages as the main reason for the meeting. Often, this is related to a newly passed soul, known to both the fourth dimensional ambassador and the dream walker themselves. We use the word dream walker. For each and every one of you listening to our words now are dream walkers. For when you exist within a physical body, holding an inquiring mind, activated DNA, an aware soul memory complex, and a pure heart, then these fourth dimensional meetings are most available for you. You have but to ask. Whilst many of you are able to activate Merkaba travel and traverse the 5th, 6th, 7th dimensions and beyond. For many of you, the experiences at this time are undecipherable, presenting in pure metaphor. You bring forth your experiences, your knowings, through creativity such as music and art, and indeed you utilize these higher dimensional frequencies for your activations and healings. Yet many of you, indeed most naturally, bypass the fourth dimensional worlds when on your Dreamtime travels. This is most positive to do so, for the ability to fly throughout the hyperspace cosmos is essential for your own freedom and sovereignty. Yet, there are times when fourth dimensional travel and connection is most useful and in alignment. The experiences within the fourth dimension are much easier to process, with metaphor presented so similar to your third dimensional structure. Therefore, if you find yourself called into spirit communication with an individual you once knew within the physical realm, or an individual you knew of, then embrace this communication and allow this to be a time where you exercise your own expertise within full multidimensionality. For indeed, you are the teacher, healer, and master for those in spirit, as well as for those in the physical world. The spirit realms, astral planes, or fourth dimensional worlds are many and vast. There is much to explore. For when you travel and explore these realms in this way, you travel and explore the deepest recesses of your own mind. For everything and everyone is held within all that is you. You indeed are the cosmic ecosystem. You are the macrocosm and the microcosm of all and everything. And each dimension, Each reality, each world is yours to discover, explore, and create. You have but to ask with a pure heart, standing aware of permissions and etiquette, understanding the meanings of knowledge, expansion, and service. Your Dreamtime travels and communications bring this awareness to the fore, so that it may be processed and utilized. Yet your awareness of such lies within the DNA fields of humanity, the knowledge base, available for each and every one of you to tap into at will. Just say the words to yourself, with confidence, strength, surrender, and knowing. Knowledge, expansion, service, permissions, etiquette. Feel the knowing resonate within at the very level of your soul. Each word is in itself a trigger, a key, into a journey that leads to the processing of it. Dreamtime connections with the fourth dimensional ambassadors are but one connection available for you as you walk your path of enlightenment, ascension, and full God self-realization. We are the white-winged collective consciousness of 9.